Welcome back and congratulations again on wanting to learn how to crochet. My name is Brenda, the newbie crocheter, and we're doing a little series on the very basics of crocheting and what you need, what you need to do, what you need to look for, what you need to shop for in order to take that first step. So in our first episode we discussed yarns, just a very basic quick video as to yarns and weights. On our second episode we discussed hooks and how they correlate back to the yarn and how to choose the proper hook for the yarn that you've decided to use. So now that you've decided your yarn, now what are you going to make? So not every yarn is perfect for every project. Let's say you're right now, since you're starting, you choose to, you say, Brenda, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a scarf as my first project, and that's a great option. It is something that is flat. It usually has a quick repeat, a one row repeat, and or we can find many patterns that you can do a one row repeat. So it's not as confusing and it's not as difficult to maneuver as your very first project. But we were talking about different yarns earlier. So if you're going to do a scarf, and let's say you live in Iowa, which I understand is getting a lot of snow in these days, so do you want to use a number 1 yarn? Do you want to use a number 2 yarn, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6? So it really all depends. I mean, if you're in a place where it's super cold a good portion of the year, you may want to create a scarf with a bulky type weight. A super bulky type weight, excuse me. Maybe as your first project you want to say, well, it's really cold, but I want to stick to the number 4. That's a good option as well. A number 4 is always a good option across the board. But the reason I mentioned where you live is because that will make a difference as to the type of project you make. Here in the South, I would probably make a scarf, but I would probably make it with a 2 or possibly a 3. And I wouldn't make it very thick and bulky. I would probably make it very thin and lacy, because we don't get very really hot, really cold winters here. Sorry. So that's what I want you to think about. What do you want to make? If you want to make a blanket, even here in Florida, I would not use a number 1. I would probably use a 3 here in Florida, maybe a 4. If I were up north in upstate New York or in a very cold weather, I would maybe use this super bulky or even a bulky for a blanket. So that is something you need to decide for what you want to do. Once you choose the yarn you want for the project that you want, and then you have the hook size that you want, then you can go ahead and start, and then we can get started on what is the very foundation of every crochet project, which is a foundation chain. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube that show you how to do a foundation chain, how to get started. On my next episode, I am going to show you also a quick tutorial on how to do just a foundation chain. We're not going to do nothing but a foundation chain, and that's what we're going to do. Once again, as I mentioned before, these little episodes are going to be very short. They're going to be very specific to what we're talking about, and it'll take you baby steps through the process of learning how to crochet. So in episode 1, we discussed types of yarn. On episode number 2, we discussed types of hooks and how hooks correlate back to the yarn. On this episode, we discussed what project you want to make and what is the proper yarn for it. You know, if it's a scarf in upstate New York, you may want to go 4, size 4 weight, 5 or 6. If you're in South Florida or in Florida or in the South and you want to make yourself a scarf, you may want to stay with a size 4, 3, maybe even 2. So that's how you decipher. And also the also the material. You know, as I mentioned before, acrylic is very wash and wear. You can wash it, you can dry it. For most of them, that is, you'll see that some bands may instruct you to wash, machine wash and lay it flat to dry. I put everything in the washer and the dryer. So acrylic usually, or acrylic cotton blend for me is perfect because I can just put it in the washer, I can put it in the dryer, and that's fine. But once again, you have to take that into consideration. If you're going to do something like a beanie or a scarf that you wear on your body and you know you have to launder quite often, then maybe you want to go with something that is easy to wash, like an acrylic or an acrylic cotton blend type yarn. If you're doing something that is very fancy and you want something that you know, or you're somebody who has no issue hand washing and laying flat to dry, or you have the space to do it, because not many people do, then you can choose something like wool, cashmere. You can do something like mohair, angora, all those beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fibers that you can use. They all have very specific ways of laundering them, so you have to take that into consideration. If you're going to do a throw, something that you use when you're laying around the house, once again, it's not something you want to wash and lay flat to dry. I would recommend a fiber that is washable and dryable, like an acrylic, a cotton blend, potentially a polyester, something along those lines. So there you go. So episode 3, we discussed how to choose the yarn for your project. Just very basic. Like I said, I don't want to overwhelm you guys. There's a lot of information with crochet, and the reason for these little episodes and this little series is to take you through the really basics for somebody who's just beginning and is just needing to understand what they need to do, what they need to get to take the first step of learning how to crochet. So thanks again for joining me. Follow me on my next episode, where we'll go into foundation chains. And it will just be foundation chains. So get your yarn, choose your yarn, go to the store, get your yarn. Remember, look at the band, buy the hook that you need, and then come and let's go ahead and work on our foundation chain. I'll see you guys in my next episode. Bye. God bless.